In the final sprint to tomorrow's New Hampshire primary, former President Trump is touting support from his former rivals as Nikki Haley refuses to drop out after DeSantis' exit. Joining us now live from New Hampshire is NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao. Iris, good evening. What's happening there tonight? And how's the race looking just a day before the first in the nation primary?
Good evening to you, Melina. So as you can see, in just a few hours, Trump is going to hold his final rally here in New Hampshire before voters go out to vote tomorrow in the state's primary. Supporters already lining up here since early this afternoon in this cold. Meanwhile, Trump tonight is expected to be joined by several of his former rivals, including Vivek Ramaswamy, Senator Tim Scott, and Governor Doug Burgum, all of whom have dropped out of the 2024 race and went on to endorse Trump. His campaign told us just over the weekend that is to really show unity within the GOP and, of course, maintain the goal to defeat President Joe Biden. Meanwhile, it's unclear whether Governor Ron DeSantis would be also among the campaign, which Trump, especially given the heated back and forth between the two of them in the past few months. And in fact, in a Fox interview aired just today, Trump said that it's highly unlikely that he's going to appoint Governor Ron DeSantis as either a VP peg or a cabinet member in his potential future administration. Watch.
It's probably unlikely, but, I have to be honest, everything's a possibility, but I think it's highly unlikely. I have a lot of great people, and I have great people that have been with me right from the beginning.
Meanwhile, Nikki Haley, who's now the only remaining GOP rival to Trump in this 2024 race, is refusing to drop out, pushing back against those calls after DeSantis' exit. Here's what she was saying today as she was campaigning right here in New Hampshire. Watch.
I have watched the political class line up with Donald Trump. I have fought the political class all my life.
And while Nikki Haley was all smiles yesterday when reacting to DeSantis' announcement to drop out, and according to polls, most of DeSantis supporters actually say that Trump is their second choice, so not sure if Nikki Haley will benefit much from DeSantis' exit. Meanwhile, in all three new polls released just today, it shows that Trump is leading Nikki Haley by double digits, anywhere from 19 to 27 percentage points. And Trump has also been touting a lot of support he's been getting from South Carolina Republican leaders, which is, of course, from Nikki Haley's home state in South Carolina. And just today, and Congressman Nancy Mace also went on to endorse Trump. Melina.
Well, certainly a lot to watch out there for, as now it's a two-person race. So let's talk a little bit about President Biden, who's not on the ballot there in New Hampshire. What can you tell us about that?
Right, so President Biden has decided to skip New Hampshire. His name's not going to appear on the state's ballot at all, but some supporters of his are trying to do write-in ballots to show their support. Meanwhile, President Biden today at the White House and talking about abortion and taking aim at Republicans. Watch.
2024 in America, women are turned away from emergency rooms. That cruel reality is a result of extreme Republicans who for years have made it their mission to end Roe v. Wade.
And tomorrow on Tuesday, which is when the primary is happening right here in New Hampshire, President Biden will travel to Virginia to talk more about abortion, which is a major topic on his 2024 campaign platform. Back to you.
All right. Thank you for that, Iris, bringing us a live report from New Hampshire. So like Iris just mentioned, the New Hampshire primary now is just containing of a two-person race between former President Trump and Nikki Haley as far as the Republican side. What kind of results are we expecting? Join us now. We have a GOP pollster. Okay, joining me now is Whit Ayers, who's the president of North Star Opinion Research. Thank you so much for your time, Whit. Let's talk about, of course, the top news in the political landscape here. Governor Ron DeSantis dropping out of the presidential race and endorsing President Trump. I think that's interesting considering he did come in second in Iowa, though he only secured half of the support that Trump did. What do you think went into DeSantis' decision here?
He doesn't really have a path forward. He had nothing going on in New Hampshire, which is the next state. It is a full 4.5 weeks from New Hampshire to South Carolina, and he really didn't have much going on in South Carolina either. But the reason most presidential campaigns fold is that they run out of money. And when you don't have a reasonable path to the nomination, you can't raise any more money. So I think that's what led to the imminent withdrawal, although it's been clear for some time that his campaign was not going to be successful.
So, of course, now his departure leading to a two-person showdown between Haley and Trump. Polling before DeSantis left showed that Trump was leading Haley 50 to 39%. Do you think it's likely that we'll see another Trump landslide victory in New Hampshire?
It's really hard to say because you don't know what proportion of the Republican electorate will come from undeclared voters, which is what New Hampshire calls independents, who choose to vote in a Republican primary. The larger the proportion of undeclared voters, the better Nikki Haley will do. So if the undeclared proportion of the electorate is, say, 45% or more, Nikki Haley could make it very close. If not, then I think Donald Trump wins it by double digits.
And I think that's an important point. That's actually exactly what I wanted to ask you, but you already went there. Nikki Haley has been trying to win over those independent voters, of course, because they're important because of that state law you just mentioned. Now, I want to ask you, if Haley is able to secure a good amount of votes in New Hampshire, do you think this will help her heading into her home state?
Oh, there's no question that if she can come within single digits of Donald Trump, especially if Donald Trump is below 50%, then that will give her some momentum going into South Carolina. She needs to give South Carolina voters a reason to believe that they're not throwing their vote away if they support her. But a lot of what determines that is going to be affected tomorrow by the margin by which Donald Trump wins, or in a real upset if Nikki Haley could actually beat him.
So those independent voters are really throwing a wrench in this whole predicting process here that we're in the news business. I want to ask you about voter turnout in New Hampshire. So the Secretary of State said that there are around 322,000 people that could turn out on Tuesday to vote. That's more than half of the total number of registered Republicans and voters who haven't declared a party preference, like you were referring to. That would set a new record for the state. What do you think is responsible for this, for voters being so eager to go to the polls?
Competitive elections drive turnout. And this is a competitive election with a lot of consequences going forward. New Hampshire voters understand that they can have a dramatic effect on the matchup next fall. It's conceivable that if Donald Trump runs away with the New Hampshire primary, that the GOP nomination is effectively over and the country is well down the road to a Trump-Biden rematch, which most Americans dread. On the other hand, if they boost Nikki Haley enough to send her into South Carolina with some momentum, then there's still the possibility that we could avoid the Trump-Biden rematch.
All right. Great insights from you, Whit. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you on today.
Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.